We are live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live. And in this video, I want to share with you 5 tips that's going to help you to stop going through the motions in your life, in your family, and in your relationship with God so that you can have a sense of purpose when you wake up each day. And we're starting right now. Hi, my name is Walter Strong, the host of Real Men Rising YouTube channel, where we share helpful tips to inspire men like yourself to raise the standard of manhood in your life and in the generations to come. And so if you're new here today, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live. If you're part of the replay crew in the comment section, give me a hashtag Team Replay. And as I said in my opening, we're going to get into 5 tips on helping you to having a sense of purpose and to stop going through the motions in your life, in your relationships with family, but most importantly, in your relationship with God. Did you know almost 65% of people go through the motions each day on their jobs because of maybe, you know, being a disgruntled employee, not happy with their pay, trouble in relationships and crisis at home. They go through the motions each day by going to work, punching the clock, doing what's required of them to the best of their ability that they think they can do. They go home, pay bills online, eat dinner, get their clothes ready for the next day, get in the bed, kiss their kids goodbye, good night, kiss their wife good night, and they start it all over again, almost like an assembly line going through the motions. But I'm here to tell you that's not God's best for me and you. In our life, that's not God's best for us in 2025. He wants us to stop going through the motions. And so I want to get into this content that's going to help you to stop going through the motions and to have a sense of purpose. So grab a pen and grab a pad. Let's go to work here on this topic of stop going through the motions. Tip number 1, I want you to be able to find your passion in life. What has God placed in you that you are so passionate about, that you are interested in? What are your hobbies? What are the things that excite you when you get a chance in your day to start engaging in? You may be a person who's very passionate about um, sewing. You may be a person that's passionate about technology and electronics. You may be a person who's passionate about being able to having relationships with others and coaching and mentoring. Whatever that passion is, if you're going to stop going through the motions, you got to lean into that passion. Now, I'm not just talking about leaning into a hobby, but I'm talking about leaning into a passion that you're willing to volunteer time in doing. You may be passionate about helping and feeding the homeless and providing clothes for people who are not fortunate to have clothes, and volunteering time. You don't necessarily have to get paid by it, but you get a sense of purpose and fulfillment because you're passionate about it. And God has placed that passion on the inside of you. And if you're going to stop going through the motions, going to work, doing your job, coming home, buying groceries, picking up the kids, you have to find your passion. And too many of us as men, we go through the motions. We go through the motions in life. Some of us have been married for 10, 15, 20 years, and we're at a point in our marriage right now where we're going through the motions. We're not as excited about looking into the eyes of the woman that we said I do to. And I joke around from time to time with people, and they say, what's the secret of you being married for over 23 years? I said, I learned from the book called Yes, Dear. Chapter 42 in the book called Happily Married for Life. Chapter 42, Yes, Dear. What's yes, dear? Dear, I want to do such and such and such. I know some things are coming up. I go, yes, dear. Dear, such and such and such. I go, yes, dear. Now I'm joking, but the simple fact that I'm willing to listen to my wife. I'm willing to listen to my spouse, and she's willing to listen to me. But I make it a purpose to not go through the motions in my marriage. I make it a purpose not to go through the motions as a father. I make it a purpose to not go through the motions in my relationship with God. Because what you're passionate about is something that you are going to be involved and engaged in. And as men, yes, we can be passionate fans when it comes to sports. We can be passionate fans when it comes to basketball, football, or what other sport that you really enjoy. But we got to be passionate about the things in our lives and our relationship with God so we can stop going through the motions. Tip number two. Not only do you have to find your passion, and if you once understood what you thought what your passion is, and you are now on the journey of rekindling that passion, you got to identify your gifts. What are you good at? What are your skills and your abilities? What are your talents? What specific set of skills do you have, as Liam Nelson said in the movie Taken? What are the specific set of skills that you have? But within those skills is a particular gift of administration, a particular gift of, say, content creation and maybe video editing, a specific gift in being able to communicate and to be able to talk and sit down with people to be able to get people to work together through almost like a mediator or someone who has the gift of communication. What is your gift? Did you know the Bible says in Proverbs 18 and 16, that a man's gift will make room for him and bring him before great men? Do you feel like you don't have a lot of opportunities being presented to you in life? Do you feel like you are not in front of the right people, in the front of the right crowd, and running and being around the right people in life? Maybe it's because you haven't identified your gift. And if you've identified your gift, but you got your gift sitting on the shelf and doing nothing with it, maybe it's because you need to develop your gift. You need to work on your gift. Because when you identify and develop your gift and you release and share your gift with others, the word of God says your gift will make room for you. It's going to provide opportunity for you. It's going to put you in front of the right people who need to be around you, and you need to be around so that you can stop going through the motions. I'm not trying to turn this into a Sunday morning service, but I've seen this and experienced this in my own life by tapping in to what I believe what God has gifted me. If you're watching me in the chat on Team Live, put in the chat, what do you believe your gift is? What do you believe your gift is? And with that understanding, now that you've identified it, are you developing it? And are you sharing it with others? Hey, if you're getting great value out of this discussion on 5 tips to help you as a man as a person to stop going through the motions in life in 2025, do me a favor, click that thumbs up button, hit the like button, share this on your favorite social media platform that you are on the most with another man, another brother, to encourage them to stop going through the motions. If you're just joining me, we're talking about 5 tips to help you to stop going through the motions in your life in 2025 so that you can have a sense of purpose. Let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. As we continue with tip number 3, I need you, if you want to stop going through the motions, to reflect on what are your core values in life. What are your core values? Because when you reflect and you keep your core values before you in life, it's going to help you to stop going through the motions. Being able to understand your core values is going to help you not just not go through the motions, but you're going to have a sense of purpose. You're going to be intentional about the things that you do, and the things that you say and the things that you do are tied with your core values. You know, when you have the core value of being faithful, to be a person who wants to be viewed and looked as a faithful person, faithful in relationships, faithful in commitments that you are a part of, it begins to communicate to others that you are dependable, you are trustworthy, you can be counted on. And when you're dependable, when you're trustworthy and counted on, you know that your core values are the key things that are helping you so that you don't just go through the motions in life. Too many of us have lost our core values. We don't reflect enough on what our core values. You know, another good core value to have as a man is just being kind to others, being kind to others, being kind and respectful to others. As you sow kindness to someone else, people will sow kindness back to you. Another core value is being empathetic towards other people, being compassionate and empathetic towards other people. Instead of being on the highway and getting upset because someone uh, cut you off to try to get in front of you, and go into a road rage tyrant, and wanting to try to catch up with them, maybe you need to maybe take a pause and be empathetic to the fact that though they are not right in what they did, maybe it's because they just struggle with time management, and they're not on time on when it comes to things in life. And so being empathetic, having that as a core value, will help you to keep your peace, will help you to keep uh, you from losing your mind and going off and staying calm. Why? Because you have core values that's going to help you not go through the motions. Another point I want to share with you is, not only do I want you to reflect on your core values, but maybe spend time connecting with others. You see, when we as men find ourselves going through the motions in life, we can have a tendency to start isolating ourselves on the job, where we go to work, we sit at the desk, and we do what we need to do on the computer. But when it comes time for, employee gatherings and group meetings, we though we may be a part of the meeting, we're sort of isolated because there's a sense of us so that we really don't want to be a part of the meeting, and we're basically saying in our head, when is this meeting going to be over so I can get away from these people and go back to my desk and be to myself, having this attitude of isolation. Or you isolate yourself from people in your church. Yes, you go to church in the morning and you listen to the choir sing your favorite song. You You want the choir to entertain you instead of you coming to church and giving God praise? Mm, and that's a good preaching moment there. Um, you come to church and you want to give your offering. You want to hear the word, and once the service is over, you want to go home and go watch the football game. You're going through the motions, and as a result, you isolate yourself. When they call for about having fellowship, like men's fellowship and gathering with other men, you don't have time because you're always busy. I'm busy. I got things to do. My job doesn't permit me to be able to go to men's fellowship or this. You know, as a result of going through the motions, you isolate yourself. And oh, this is a good one. You constantly always got excuses. You got excuses about why you can't be engaged. You can't be involved because of excuses. And so if you're going to stop going through the motions in 2025, you got to be willing to connect with others. And when I say connect with others, I'm talking about like-minded people who care about the things that you care about, who have the same similar interests and passions that you do. Connecting with others, even if people are different from you and they think different, they look different, but there's a common interest that you still have. Being willing to connect with others. And if you do that, you're going to stop going through the motions in life. You're going to be a person who's not just about word, but about actions. I always give this illustration to people. When it comes to parrots are very colorful and they're very loud. Parrots are very colorful and they're very loud. They talk a lot. They repeat a lot of what they've heard from others and what they've heard from their surroundings. That's what parrots do. They go through the motions and they constantly keep saying what they've heard from others and what they've heard from their surroundings. Does that describe you? Those of you who are watching me live or those of you who are watching the replay? Is that you? Or are you an eagle? An eagle is a bird that has few words. But when the eagle takes action, the eagle has the ability to allow the wind of adversity to lift up its wings to soar in the sky, in the mountains. Which bird describes you in 2025? If you're going to stop going through the motions, are you the parrot or are you the eagle? Hey, if you're getting great value out of this conversation on 5 tips on how to stop going through the motions in your life in 2025, do me a favor, click that thumbs up button for me, hit that like button, share this live stream on your favorite social media platform that you are on the most. And if you are new to the Real Men Rising YouTube channel, where we share helpful tips to inspire men like yourself to raise the standard of manhood in your life as a man, so you can be a great husband, devoted father, and a man of integrity, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, click the alert notification button, and be a part of the conversation of real men that are raising the standard of manhood, not only in these times, but in the generation to come. Hey, I want you to stick with me. Got a bonus tip for you. After we share this 5th tip. And so stick with me to the end. My 5th tip is practice gratitude. Practice gratitude. If you're going to stop going through the motions in your life, you're going to stop going through the motions on your job, in your family. You're going to stop going through the motions in your relationship with God or in the church that you visit from time to time. If you're going to stop going through the motions of just having no sense of purpose and not feeling fulfilled in life, practice gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? So grateful that let me tell you a couple things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my strength. I'm grateful that I have the breath of life this morning. I'm grateful for my family, my wife, and my daughter. I'm grateful for you being live with me here on Man Talk Live. When you practice gratefulness, it'll keep you from constantly complaining. If you practice gratefulness, it'll keep you from having the mentality another day, another dollar. If you practice gratefulness, it's going to help you to stop going through the motions. Those of you who are watching me live this morning, let me know in the chat, what are you grateful for this morning? What are you grateful for this morning? Is it your health? Is it relationships with family or others? Are you grateful in terms of your career? What are you grateful for? What has God blessed you with this day that you should be grateful for? Because that's going to help you to not have a complaining spirit. That's going to help you to stop going through the motions, feeling like you're not fulfilled and you have no sense of purpose. You know, one of the things as parents that we teach our children when they are young is to say thank you when we give them something that they've asked for or that they've earned. We teach our children to say thank you, because when you teach children to say thank you, when you teach them as they become adults, it helps them to understand that thank you can make room for more. But when a person is not thankful, when a person is not grateful, when a person doesn't appreciate gratefulness and practice gratefulness in their life, they're just going through the motions. The $100 million question that I have for you today in Monopoly money, okay, is, are you practicing gratefulness this morning? Or are you just going through the motions? You're just going through the motions. Having no sense of purpose, not being fulfilled, not having any real passion in life for what you're passionate about. Not able to identify your gift and what you're good at, so that your gift can make room for you and bring you before great men. When you don't practice gratefulness, you're not going to reflect on your core values, and you're certainly not going to connect with others, because you got this mentality about why life is not good for you. Yes, life sometimes can give us lemons, but God has also blessed us with the breath in our body and the activity of our limbs and our hands, and given us a mind to practice gratefulness so that those lemons can be turned into lemonade. And then once those lemons are turned to lemonade, to have the common sense to say, thank you, Lord. Give you a bonus tip. If you're going to stop going through the motions in your life in 2025, you got to have the right perspective about how you go through crisis in your life. If you are going to stop going through the motions and feeling like, why do bad things always happen to good people? Why do bad things always happen to me? If you are going to stop going through the motions, you got to have the right perspective. Here's what I mean. Yes, hard times come to us all. You know, Run DMC made a song many years ago, hard times in life, hard times in death. I'm going to keep on fighting to my very last breath. Hard times. So we're all going to deal with hard times. But the point is having the right perspective and how you go through those hard times. I always try to remind myself when I'm going through a difficult situation or hard times, no matter how negative it may be at this moment in my life, through the grace of God, He can help me to develop that negative into a picture of greatness in the days to come. I want you to think about a photographer for a moment. Not the photography that we use with our phones, because our phones are computers and they have cameras. You can have 4K pictures. But I'm talking about the back in the day cameras, the photographer who would take the picture and the light would shutter and grab the image. And then once the photographer has taken enough pictures, he goes in what's called the dark room. And you may be in the dark room today because you're going through the motions. But in the dark room, the photographer, he puts on some gloves. He takes the film, the negative, focus now here on the negative, and he puts it in this solution. And this solution is so strong that it can begin to form and to shape the image of the picture that the photographer took. And then once the film has been in this solution, it's hung up and it dries for a period of time. And then ultimately the pictures come forth. And then that photographer then now can give those pictures along with the negatives. It's interesting that they would give you the pictures and the negatives to help you to remember what it looked like in the beginning, what it felt like in the beginning. And now this is what the pictures are. And you put them on your wall. You put them in your wallet, even though we don't put pictures in our wallets nowadays as we used to. And now we have pictures that we're willing to pay a price for because it's going to bring a sense of enjoyment and value to us that we're going to keep for memories to come and to share with others. So when you have the right perspective about crisis, it's going to help you to stop going through the motions. Is that you today? What's your perspective about what you're going through? You're watching me on your mobile phone. You're watching me on your tablet. You're watching me on your laptop. You may even be watching me on your smart HD 4K television. And you're like, I can't get out of the bed. I can't get out of the bed. I'm just this is what I'm going through. It's just so hard. It's so negative. This is so wrong. People are going through some tough and difficult times. You may be watching me outside the US and you're hearing all about what's going on about the wildfires in California. But in the midst of dark and negative situations, through the grace of God, He can develop that negative into something much greater and better in the days to come. And so if you have the right perspective regarding crisis, you're going to stop going through the motions and you're going to practice gratitude. Crisis, if we have the right perspective, we'll see it as an opportunity for growth and for better things for us. Look at this past pandemic that we had. One of the benefits that we took from the pandemic was remote learning. Prior to the pandemic, all around the world, and particularly in this country, we didn't really embrace remote learning. We kind of demanded people to show up regardless of what the weather was, and regardless of how cold it was, and regardless if the heat wasn't working in the building or if there was not enough air conditioning. We kind of demanded people to show up. And then when the crisis happened of the pandemic, we embraced remote learning. And from that came remote learning, came live streaming and other features that we embraced. The crisis that you're going through, that's got you going through the motions, is an opportunity for growth in your life. I can stay on this topic. I can stay on this topic. But my point is, my question to you today is, Tech Troublemaker says we having church this morning. Amen. Okay. All right. All right. I'll pass the offering plate, Tech. I'll pass the offering plate when it's over. Good morning, sir. My point is, I don't want you going through the motions in your life today in 2025. I don't want you going through the motions when it comes to relationships with people that matter to you. Now, you may be a little pissed off at them right now. You may be a little pissed off at them. They may be pissed off at you right now. But as I always tell people in life, don't take relationships for granted. Don't take relationships for granted and say, hey, I am not telling them I love them. I don't know why I'm going here, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. Those of you who are watching me live, give me a hashtag team live. Let me know where you're watching me from. When you take relationships for granted and you start going through the motions in that relationships, what will happen is the more you decide not to talk to them, the more you decide to not want to communicate with them, and they don't call you and you don't call them because of whatever the issue was that kind of got you both not talking, you're going to take things for granted. And unfortunately, that day will come where you'll get a phone call from a loved one or a family member, and they'll tell you that loved one is no longer amongst the land of the living and they're not here anymore. I'm talking about real talk. This is Man Talk Live, real talk, real issues with real solutions. You're going to take that for granted. And I remember that happened to me when it came to my mother. There was a situation in her life that I felt like this particular individual was taking advantage of her. And I felt she needed to stand up to the person, regardless of how she felt this person mattered in her life. I felt it was wrong. And as her son, I felt like she needed to do something, since she wouldn't let me do something about it because she felt that I would get into a confrontation with them. But she, out of respect for my mother's wishes, I wouldn't get into confrontation. But I really got mad with my moms. And I just, it pissed me off to the point when I left to come back home, because at the time I was visiting Detroit and I live here in Long Island, New York. I went home back to New York. I didn't say I love my mother and give her a hug goodbye. I just left. I jumped in the car and left. And normally I would make it a point to, before I left, to tell my mother I love her and give her a hug. But this time I didn't. So a couple of weeks and months went by until one day in September, I got a phone call from my sister that Mom's had died. And that was devastating to me. That was devastating to me that I would. And when I did try to pick up the phone to call my mother, I couldn't reach her before she died. And that was devastating. So I went home and I did the funeral. I had to be a part of the funeral and everything, say, some words at her eulogy with her to eulogize her. And then when it was time for me to leave to go home again, I saw my dad, because my mom's was, and my dad had divorced. My mom's was in a relationship with someone else, with the person that I was pissed off who was taking advantage of her. And I had a decision to make. My dad was not the type of person who liked to express his emotions and tell you that he loves you. But I had a choice to make. Was I going to turn around and get back in the car and go back to New York, or walk up to my dad and tell him I love him and give him a hug? And I made the decision, the hard decision, to say, hey, Dad, I know this may not be something you're comfortable with, and I understand you may not even want to do it back to me, but I have to do it for my peace of mind. I can't get back in the car and go to New York and not say I love you. And then I get a phone call and now I got to come to your funeral. And I told him, Dad, I love you. And I put my arms around him. He put his arms around me, but he did his best to express his emotions because back, men, our fathers, our grandfathers, they struggled in being able to share their emotions that they love their sons because maybe their dads didn't express it to them. But I made it the point that I told my dad I loved him. And it is one of the most cherished fatherhood moments that I've kept and I've made a part of my own life as a father to make sure, regardless of if my daughter, my princess, and I have a moment, to always let her know, Daddy loves you. You'll always be Daddy's little girl. And so I just want to share that. Those of you who are watching me live this morning, I want to say, Kara, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being a part of Teen Live. I really appreciate your presence. Whoever it is that is watching me, that's for you. That's your mail this morning. I got your address on it. If you're going to stop going through the motions in life, you got to practice gratitude. You got to practice gratitude. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this live stream discussion on 5 tips on helping you to stop going through the motions in life, do me a favor. Click that like button for me. Hit that thumbs up. Share this on your favorite social media platform that you are on the most with another man, with another brother, and to encourage them that in 2025, this is the year that we're going to fight for our focus and we're going to stop going through the motion. That's the content. If you have any comments, put a C in front of a comment. If you have a question, put a Q in front of the question. I'm going to, before we wrap this up here on Man Talk Live, just want to give you an update on the new giveaway that I'm going to be making available to the community here on Real Men Rising. I'm working on this mini ebook called The State of Manhood, and we are just about 75% complete. Once this new ebook becomes available, it's going to be available for you to be able to download. I'm trying to put the finishing touches on if I'm going to use Intuit MailChimp or ConverterKit or some other email marketing tech. Maybe I'll reach out to you and kind of get your thoughts on what email marketing list you're using, because all you're going to have to do is make sure you're a subscriber of the channel. And then also just sign up with your email list, and you're going to get this new ebook that, let me switch this right quick. Let's go over here so I can kind of show you where we're at with it. There we go. So give me a second. Let's make this here like this. All right. So this is the new book, The State of Manhood, that we're working on. We just about got it 75% complete. And in this book, we're gonna be answering the question: what is the state of manhood in men's lives today? And the state of manhood regarding the different crises or challenges we may be facing. Some men are facing a crisis of identity and struggling in understanding what it means to be a real man. It's a crisis for men today, and understanding that manhood is not about your first drink. Manhood is not about age. Manhood is not about your first kiss with a woman or having sex with a woman or killing your first deer or going hunting for the first time. Manhood is about you as a man growing in maturity in your conversation, in your mindset, in your mentality, and in your understanding, and you being responsible. And so we're going to cover the different crises that we as men can go through. And then once we address the state of manhood, we talk about solutions, because not only do we have to talk about the issues that we're going through, but we got to talk about how do we move forward from the state. I want you to think about the State of the Union address that a president would have, or a state of the state that a governor would have with their state. They give a State of the Union or a State of the State address, and they kind of share about what are some of the challenges and issues that we're facing, and what are the opportunities that we can have to move forward. And so that's what the State of the Manhood is going to be about, and how recapturing the true vision of manhood is going to help you and me to just kind of going through the book on the shirts. We're going to have some pictures here in the book. So I'm excited. This is going to be a downloadable giveaway that you as a man or a woman, because you may have an important man who's a husband, a father, or a son, and you want to kind of know what's going on in the inside of them. You want to know about the silent battles that they're dealing with. And so I'm excited about this giveaway that we're having, and it's going to be free. Now, this giveaway is the first version. I'm going to stop sharing here because I'm working on a new book. And so I've kind of took the first 2 chapters of that book and turned it into a mini ebook that's going to be available to you who are part of the Real Men Rising YouTube channel, and gives you the ability. I'll have a link where you can go to on our website that we're working on getting our website back up. And you can be able to then download this ebook, rather male or female, so that way you can understand the state of manhood. I see a couple of comments here. Just acknowledge. Text says Team Live. Appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much. Kara, Team Live. Thank you so much. And we're excited. We're going to be fighting for our focus. That's the theme here on Real Men Rising YouTube channel, encouraging you as a man and or as a woman, because you may, as a woman, one of the things I'm understanding about my analytics on YouTube is that about 15% of women watch this YouTube channel and engage in the content. And so I acknowledge you, and I recognize that audience is there, and you continually, constantly come back, because there is a special man in your life that's important to you, whether if he is a husband, a father, or a son, and you want to be able to connect and let him know that you are there for him, to encourage him. And so if Real Men Rising is going to be a tool to help you to do that, we certainly are going to provide you the content to help you to do that. And so check right quick to see if there are any questions, any comments. I'm so grateful for those of you this morning who've been a part of Man Talk Live. I don't see anything. All right. Well, I'm not going to take too much more of your time, but I just certainly grateful. I just want you, before we end this stream, what are 3 things that you're grateful for? And in the chat, put one of them. Those of you who are watching me live, or if you're watching the replay, just put one thing out of those 3 things that you're grateful for. Practice gratefulness. Practice gratefulness. Put it in the chat, because what you release, you'll keep before you in your mind, to keep your attitude right, so you're not going through the motions. So just before we end this live stream, see if there's anyone that puts anything in the chat, because we want to pull that up and acknowledge. Okay, give it another minute, and if I don't see anything, we're going to go ahead and give you the rest of your morning. And those of you watching live, share this live stream. Share this episode of Man Talk Live with another man, another brother, to encourage them that in 2025, this is the year for you to stop going through the motions. Hey, check out our recent episode on fighting for your focus so that you can be able to stay focused in life on the things that matter and important to you. And check out our recent video on how to deal with loneliness. Men, we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this, and we'll talk about it in future episodes. But check out our recent video on how to deal with loneliness, the difference between being alone and having time alone to yourself versus feeling lonely. Because God said it wasn't good for us as men to be alone. Hey, we'll see you on the next episode of Man Talk Live. God bless.